You want to win? Then be ready to lose everything. You want freedom like Luffy? Then be ready to bleed for it. This world doesn't reward the careful. It rewards the bold, the reckless, the mad. It rewards those who risk everything when others hesitate. Luffy, he never wanted safety. He never cared for comfort. All he wanted was the sea, the danger, the throne of the pirate king, not for glory, but for freedom. Luffy's not a hero. He's not a savior. He's a man who burned the map, tore down the rules, and laughed in the face of gods. He faced giants, monsters, emperors, and still walked forward with a smile. Why? Because he knew something most men never understand. You cannot win if you're not willing to lose. Every scar on his body was a lesson. Every time he stood back up was a declaration, and every risk he took was proof that greatness demands sacrifice. Ask yourself, are you playing not to lose, or are you playing to win? Luffy didn't count the odds. He didn't beg for help. He stepped into the fire knowing he could burn, and he did, again and again. But each time he fell, he rose stronger, louder, unbroken. Because true strength comes not from power, but from purpose. And Luffy's purpose was everything. The weak want a guarantee. The strong, they gamble with pain. They put everything on the line. Their pride, their body, their life. And that is why they win. Because they're not afraid to die for something greater. Do you think Luffy feared death in Marineford when the sky was on fire and gods clashed? He wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about his brother, about the promise, about never, ever turning his back, even if it killed him. That's not bravery, that's madness. And sometimes, madness is exactly what this world demands. The safe never become legends. The careful never write history. And cowards, they never change anything. So if you want to live like Luffy, then you better be ready to suffer like him, to scream, to bleed, to lose, and still get up, smiling. Luffy didn't win because he was the strongest. He won because he believed when others broke. He kept moving when others gave up. He risked everything when others played it safe. That's the dark truth. Winners are not always good, but they are always relentless. You say you want to be great? Then stop fearing pain. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for the right moment. The right moment is the one you create. When you move forward despite the fear. When you risk it all for what matters. That is when the world breaks before you. You will suffer. You will fall. You will face silence, betrayal, and fear. But if you keep moving, if you keep swinging, if you keep risking it all, you will become unstoppable. Just like Luffy, not because you're perfect, but because you refuse to quit. So remember this, winners risk everything, not because they want to lose, but because they know. Winning is only for those who are willing to burn for it. Be that person, be the storm, be the legend. Now go and risk it all. You see, Luffy was never the strongest in the beginning. He wasn't born a king, he was born free, and that freedom became his weapon. He didn't chase thrones, he chased dreams. And in chasing them, he became unstoppable. Because the truth is, the world bows to those who refuse to kneel. The chains of fear, the chains of doubt, the chains of what if Luffy broke them all. Not with brute force, but with will. Pure, reckless, unshakable will. When the world screamed, "You can't," he answered with a fist. When the heavens fell and monsters rose, He answered with a grin. And that's the lesson you must learn. The world doesn't fear strength, it fears resolve. You think it's strength that wins wars? It's not. It's purpose. It's madness. It's the man who walks into the storm and dares it to stop him. Luffy didn't hesitate when the cost was high. He didn't stop when the pain got worse. Because winners don't wait for the pain to pass. They walk through it. They become it. You have dreams, then they will cost you your comfort, your sleep, your fear of failure. But if you trade them in, if you're willing to lose, you just might win something greater. Yourself. That's the path Luffy walked. Not a straight road, but a storm, a battlefield, a test, and he passed it. Not by being better, but by refusing to break. People talk about success like it's clean, like it's beautiful, but it's not. It's blood, it's loss, it's walking alone, and still choosing to keep going. Even when no one believes in you. Even when everything inside you says stop. That's the power of Luffy, not his punches, not his rubber body, but his spirit, his belief that no matter how many times you fall, you get back, upper, and you rise angry. You rise louder. You rise until the world can't ignore you anymore. So here's what you must decide. Will you risk it? Will you give up the safety of a quiet life for the roar of something greater? Will you stand tall in your failures so you can taste a victory that no one else understands? Because if you do, then you are no longer ordinary. Then you are no longer a dreamer. You are a pirate, a warrior, a winner. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you took it. Winners risk everything because they know what it means to have nothing and still bet it all anyway. You want to understand Luffy? You need to look past the smile, because behind that grin is a man who's tasted pain deeper than most will ever know. You think he's just happy-go-lucky? You miss the point. That smile is defiance. It's rebellion. It's a declaration that nothing the world throws at him will break his soul. Not starvation, not betrayal, not the death of his brother in his arms. Marineford, the battlefield of gods, the place where hope was crushed. And yet, Luffy charged into it with no plan, no army, just one goal, save Ace. That wasn't strength, that was raw purpose. That was madness fueled by love. And when it all fell apart, when Ace died right before him, Luffy broke. He collapsed. He screamed. And for a moment, the Pirate King of Tomorrow was just a broken boy. But here's where the difference lies. He didn't stay down. Most people, when they break, they stop. Luffy, he rebuilt himself. He went into the darkness, faced his weakness, trained for 2 long years, not to become the strongest, but to become worthy of the promise he made, to his crew, to his dream, to Ace. That is the essence of Luffy. He doesn't chase power for domination. He chases strength so he never fails again. He wants to protect, to inspire, to live freely, and let others do the same. That's why his crew follows him into hell. That's why kings bow when he speaks. Because Luffy doesn't lead with fear. He leads with fire. And if you're still wondering what makes him special, it's not the devil fruit. It's not the battles. It's not even his victories. It's the unbreakable will to move forward, no matter what it costs him. Luffy risks his life again and again, not for gold, not for fame, but because he believes. He believes in something bigger than himself. And that belief, that unshakable dream, is what makes him legendary. So if you want to walk the path of the king, don't just mimic Luffy's strength. Embrace his sacrifice. Risk everything, even your peace, even your sanity. Because to build a life worth remembering, you have to tear yourself apart and rebuild into something unstoppable. Luffy is not just a pirate. He is a symbol of freedom, of will, of the fact that one man can challenge the world and still laugh in its face. He was born in a shack, raised in chaos, marked for death. And still, he said, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates." They laughed, but one day, they won't be laughing anymore, and neither will the world when you rise.